It reset my settings! How dare you, you bastard. I just tested you and it was working 2 seconds ago. I can close that now. As I was saying, hello everybody. Uh, man, I'm gonna have to edit this now. I don't want to, but now I have to. Fuck me. I shouldn't say that in the beginning because I have to censor it, but I don't care. Uh, welcome everybody. As you can see, why is it top chat? It should be live chat. We will be reading PIK today and reviewing it. If you're watching this live, hi. I do these live streams, or I will be doing these live streams every once in a while. I don't know how often. I assume SD is Paul. If so, hello, Paul. Actually, I'm pretty sure One Piece looking head. Know what they say? If you're gonna torture yourself, might as well do it on live stream. I don't know who they is, but man, I don't like them. I guess it's me. I guess I'm them. It is me. Okay. I now switch back to Go Get on Twitter. Let's see what my notification says. Nothing important. I now tweet out link to live stream. Okay. I was doing it. Oh, what was I refreshing? Okay. I'll just go ahead and get into it. Let's turn this on. Let's turn on the music that I'm gonna be listening to. Thank you, closed captions. I didn't know if that was me. Wouldn't be able to know if that was music. It's not playing the music. I love when it resets my stuff. Hopefully that's not too loud. Is it too loud, or is it like just a little music in the background? Alright. Man, if I had a nickel for every time I've read this one chapter, I have a lot of nickels. If I had a nickel for how many times I've completed this chapter, I also have a lot of nickels. I wonder if all the misspellings are in the like official prints are still in this. Where is it? Where's the one that I was laughing about the other day? Oh, that's horrendous. Well, I'm glad to know that's. I mean, I might have to change the light mode. I mean, I know what that says. Actually, dark mode's probably better for the majority of the stuff because I know pastel colors is used for the majority of it. It'll be fun for who. Now, as you can see, this is the old version. We will... I guess I'll read the new version once we're to the new version. I guess. I'm not a fan of reading the new version, or I'm not a fan of reading more than the old version, actually, but I guess we could read the, I think, couple... I think we read a couple of chapters of version 2. I think it's the first 2 chapters that get redone. As you can see, there is 21, so we will not do all of them today. There's 10,000 words in chapter 6. Who was yapping that much in chapter 6? Jesus. The fact that this film fanfic was printed and distributed is astounding. I mean, Minecraft fanfictions get printed and published constantly, so it's not astonishing to me. If people are gonna buy it, I mean, people buy it, it'll happen. Okay, well, I think I gave people enough time to come in, don't y'all? I've been going for about 11 minutes. That's enough for people to join, right? Anybody else joins after, they can just watch the upload of this one, but I have to edit out the, what, 5 minutes of me not being able to talk. If there's any issues with like the video, I will be recording this separately, so I will upload it as its own video afterwards, so we don't have to worry about all those issues. I will also be introing it in like a second, so I can just get to that. Still funny that no money was made off of this. I wouldn't say no money. I wouldn't say no. I guess off Amazon maybe, but I wouldn't say no money was made off of it. There was a couple of dollars made on it, a couple of them, like maybe 5. I think 5 more than this story's worth, in my opinion, or what I've read of it's worth. Chapter 1's all right as a story, I guess. I've read it, as I said, I've read through the majority of this. I'm not a fan of this. I hate this part of it. This part of it's the worst part of it. This is just such bad formatting that it makes me want to commit war crimes, I guess. Okay, we need one more person to join, but they'll join whenever they can. Few trees had to die. No. Actually, yeah, I forget. There is at least, I think, 4 physical copies that were sold. So yes, you are right. But I believe the others are print on demand. Well, I don't know if that's what it's called for books, but if you order it, it'll be made. So I'm assuming it's not an issue for the majority of the, like, if nobody buys it, then only the 4 that. Let me check everything. Let me check Steam. Let me check Epic. Hello, Steam. Are you updating something without my permission? The question, would y'all want me to give these characters voices, or would you want me to just read it straight? I can do either. I would prefer to just read it straight, but I could do either if y'all want. One new friend request. Who is adding me on? Oh wait, I know who it is. I don't care. Oh, 5 views. Thank you for the views. I'm glad people are enjoying my suffering. Straight? Okay, good. Thank the gods. Okay. I can't just keep sitting here talking, waiting for the other person to join, but they could be joining now or 5 hours from now with how hectic they can get at work, so I am just going to stop. And I will be talking about it a lot as we go, so keep that in mind when I'm talking. Chapter 1. The Riptide. If it hadn't been for the fact that light had managed to penetrate the walls of the brick-laden room, Covet Dawndrop would have never known that it was indeed the daytime. Groaning, he proceeded to toss and turn to avoid the shimmering light that was touching his bed and glimmering straight onto his eyes. When he opened them, he didn't want to get up, but he knew he had no choice. Soon, he knew that his father or brother would come to wake him regardless of his wish to remain in bed. It was in their natures after all. Yes, it is usually in people's natures to wake up their child when they sleep in all the time. but you know. But I never understood this. It's in their natures. Like, what? It's in their nature to worry about somebody who's sleeping all the time, sleeping through the day. Like, I stay up all night pretty much. Okay, most of my videos I've made at night. People would worry if I was asleep all the time. That's just how it works. I don't understand. It was in their nature. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's in their natures to worry because they care about you. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't like how that's phrased. But that's more me nitpicking than anything, probably. You see, Covet Dondrup was part of a royal family, specifically the royal family of the continent Mainstralia. I had to think for a long time about how to pronounce that. Because it gave me a headache. His father, King Crimson Sunrise, oversaw both him and his brother Stardew. Crimson was, as his name suggests, a crimson-colored stallion. His mane was always fixed and styled thanks to the crown that he wore. I don't know why the crown specifically made his hair styled. That's weird, but okay. Whilst his eyes, quite the opposite. Oh, there it is. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. My favorite sentence ever in a book. Quite the opposite. His eyes providing a stark contrast to the darkening crimson around him, shimmering like a pair of moons. I can't speak. Moons in the night sky. His horn was curved, much like Covet's and Stardew's, although it was far bigger than his own. It almost reflected his own age, as he had been the ruler of Minstralia for over a millennia. After all, his wings also showed his age, being far bigger than the average Pegasi wings. Okay, obviously, first poor case of grammar. Quite the opposite. Not correct sentence. Actually, very far from a correct sentence. A better way of saying it would be his eyes were quite the opposite, not his eyes quite the opposite. That just doesn't make sense. Like as a would-be English professor, I'm not an English professor, but you get the idea. I know a lot about the English language when it comes to like speaking it and all that stuff, due to the fact that I make videos, but I have to talk a lot, and I have to be able to like make arguments, and that's bad to get made fun of in one of my videos. is talking like that. I wish you could see my hands. I'm moving them a lot. However, his brother was different. His mane wasn't styled and his wings weren't big. In fact, both Stardew and Covet had around the same size horn and wings. Being young alicorns, they knew that they would one day be in the same stage as their father. Stardew also had a coat of red hue, although it was almost as if a salmon had been plucked from the water, with the color of palish red covering him. His mane was much like Covet's in the sense that it was covered in 3 colors. However, whilst Covet had red, gold, and purple in his mane, with a red tail, Stardew possessed 3 varieties of blue: light blue, deep blue, and the color sort of resembling a dull turquoise. All of the mane waving to the ends like the waves in the sea. Then there were his eyes that held a distinct pink color to them, almost like 2 pink roses in their color. Okay. You don't need to say it like that. Then there was his eyes that held a distinct pink color to them, almost like 2 pink roses. You don't need to say in their color. Just almost like 2 pink roses would have been sufficient. You just... I forgot the name of it. You just... it's redundant. That's what it is. It's redundant to say in their color, in the color of his eyes. Yeah, you're describing the color of his eyes. You don't need to remind people that you are doing so literally 2 seconds afterwards. Doesn't make sense from an English standpoint. Oh yeah, you can see all my bookmarks. I don't really care. Nothing up there I care about. What was I? Oh yeah, right there. I was making fun of that. My edit this. I'll probably just drop it a little bit. I don't care. Then there was Covet himself. Oh, Covet. Covet's design. Blech. He held his purple, gold, and red mane. Oh, yeah. He held... I don't feel like that's right. He held his purple, gold, and red mane as well as his tail. Then there was the case of his orange coat. It was a saturated orange. It was more so a pale sort of orange. An orange that looked like a light sandstone covered in this barrage of almost eye-offending colors. It was almost a mystery to everyone, including himself, as to how he even managed to get this amount of mismatched coloring to himself. It wasn't as if he minded though. It kept cults, fillies, and fans away from him. I think his personality does that more than the color. I'm gonna be so thrilled. The contrasting blue eyes that he held, however, reminded ponies most of tropical waters with an azure blue tone. Isn't azure just a blue? Isn't saying azure blue is like saying crimson red? Like, isn't it the same thing? I'm not an artist. I'm just I'm asking. You could probably do that really well. It's just don't say quite the opposite. It was an azure blue tone. Compared to his father and brother, however, he always felt as if he were an outsider, the family member that didn't belong. It's not as if he actually was, but his self-doubting nature allowed him to feel this way. Okay, I self-doubt a lot. Like, a lot. Why am I getting pinged again? Okay, anyway. Was that on? Oh. Self-doubt nature allowed him to feel this way. Okay, I self-doubt a lot. I've never once felt like I didn't belong somewhere because I self-doubted myself. Usually, not feeling like you belong somewhere is not related to how... Well, at least for me, that is. It does not relate to how I perceive myself. It's based on how others perceive me. If people perceive me as an issue, then I'll assume I'm an outsider, and usually I won't care because caring about what other people think about me is not a thing I really care enough to do. Why is her line so pretentious? Like, she reminds me of those couple bros office who use 40 words to say that there's a tree outside the window. I mean, that's pretty accurate to what this is. Like, when I read the rewrite, if it's written the same way, I'm just gonna be annoyed. I'll be so thrilled. If it's just the same thing, but better grammar, I'm gonna be so annoyed. You have no idea. Though today, he had no time to doubt himself. He had to get up and fast. About 10 minutes passed as he got himself out of bed and trotted slowly to the curtains to open them. His room being akin to a pigsty made traversal by hoof hard, however he managed. He wasn't the best with his room's tidiness, and he rarely allowed the castle staff to come in and clean the place. In fact, the last time he did that was before he was chosen as the rightful heir to his father's throne quite a few years back. Disgusting. He always recalled grinning widely as his brother's face grew angry at the announcement, and he also remembered the fight that ensued because of the announcement. It sent his relationship with his brother down the abyss as far as he was concerned. Okay. I don't think we learn about what this fight is now. I don't know if we ever do. But if this is typical rich kid, it should have been me type of shit. It's not... You're just being petty then. You're just being petty if that's all it was. I'm gonna be so thrilled. Like, I have a lot of fights with my siblings. I'm not an only child. I have siblings, 2 of them. I fight with my siblings often. The things that would cause me to say that our relationship went down to the abyss is very, very limited, and is more telling of the fact that these characters did not actually care about each other. The author has said that the story is about I forget what exactly the phrasing she said was, but it's essentially about her. Like the characters in it, like the bad guys based on people in her life. And I find it hard to believe due to a couple of the characters sounding exactly like her at the same exact time as her, but as this character, but you know what I mean. It's just weird. Still see you're awake. I can't read. I can't read. I am illiterate. Still see you're waking up, eh? He asked before Covet could respond. A flash of... Oh, wait. I skipped stuff. Oopsie. Eto bleh. I mean, most authors write books about themselves. Like, Stephen King, for example, always has a self-insight in his books. Usually it's an author. Like, in it's Bill. He becomes an author. In The Shining, it's Jack Torrance, the father. In Misery, it's the guy that gets his leg broke. There's always somebody based on the author in his books. It's very, very common that authors do that, because usually authors write about what they know, and what they know the best is themselves, because it's them. Now, that's not to say that all authors are narcissistic, obviously, because authors are usually good at writing, but still. It was then, however, when he heard a knock, he rolled his eyes as he assumed that this was the castle staff, not thinking that it could have been anyone else who he was greeted by. As he turned the wooden door, surprised him as it turned out his brother Stardew. That is a mouthful of stuff that is unnecessary. On Stardew's face held the expression of tedium, the expression one would give when they had to do something that they really didn't want to do. It took a slightly tense moment of the two just sitting there before Stardew spoke with a distinct oceanic accent. What is an oceanic accent? Like, real talk, what is an oceanic accent? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of countries in Oceania. I'm gonna see how many countries are in Oceania, actually. I think there's a lot. I think New Zealand's oceanic, and I don't think New Zealanders sound like Australians. Oceania. Blub blub. Well, that was not helpful. But looking up Oceania countries is not helpful, because there's a cruise link to Oceania cruises. That's true, but usually it's a lot more subtle, right? And it's not always the ooh super perfect MC. I mean, not really. The example I used was Stephen King. A lot of the characters he had were pretty dead on with how he acted around the time. Like, obviously with Jack Torrance, he was the bad guy. No, kind of the bad guy, but still. I don't feel I need a spoiler alert for a series that's older than myself. Before you make cries about that. But with, like, say, the Misery, yeah, that's how Misery is about how Stephen King felt with superfans. Like, it's a story about the extreme of what Stephen King thought could happen. So that writer is directly a self-insert of himself. Like, it just depends on the story. As I said, most writers know how to write, so they can be subtle or direct if it needs to be more direct for the message of the story. But this is just... Right now, it's just... No, it's just the beginning. I'm not going to comment on stuff that happens later, before it happens, but this is just the beginning, and so far, I'm not drawn in to care about Covet, or... I care more about Stardew after reading this chapter so many times. I feel bad for Stardew. Yeah, but like, the self-inserts aren't perfect almost most... Oh, I didn't answer that. Oops. Well, wait, did I? No, I didn't. No. I mean, the Mary Sue's in a sense, like Bill, for example, self-insert of Stephen King again in it. He's the hero. He saves everybody. I'd say he's pretty Mary Sue-like. But overall, like, this is more a discussion for like a video about talking about like Mary Sue's in media and all that, but self-inserts themselves aren't Mary Sue's, no. Okay. Oh, my model's having a stroke again. Oh, that's cool. I didn't look at the picture for there's a Lapis instead of a Gengar. That's cool. No! I alt-tabbed and tabbed back in. I mean, I don't care. It's a live stream. It's gonna go up as VOD, so people know it's me talking like about this stuff live. I don't think anybody's under the impression that it's just me talking about the book only. I think they understand that I know how to entertain a chat, so I have to talk to chat. I can't just sit here and read the book and talk about it. Chat has something they want to talk about. I'm going to talk about it. Regardless of who chat is. Where was I? Oceanic accent, that's right. I was gonna mimic an Oceanic accent, but I don't know what an Oceanic accent is, so I'm not gonna try. Still see you waking up, eh? He asked before Covet could respond. A flash of bright light came from Stardew's form. By the time Covet could look around, he heard things behind him. He turned to find Stardew was recovering his suitcase that Covet thought he had already packed. Now, what do you think you're doing? He shrieked with anger as he tried to stop Stardew from opening it. Oh, calm down, would you? I'm just making sure that you ain't forgetting to pack nothing important. Stardew responded, managing to get Covet off the suitcase before it broke, as it looked like it were about to. As an for myself, I find analyzing this stuff to be fascinating. Fair. Also, I want to point out, I had to hold back, but I really want to go into a southern accent reading that, because of how it's written. Written. I don't think I can criticize people for speaking poorly in books if I say written. But based on how it's written, I mean, we want to go into a southern accent. Like, it's written how I would speak in a southern accent. Which is funny, because I'm from the south. I should have one, but still. Covet yawned for a moment. How do we go from shrieking in anger to yawning? Explain. How go from point A to point B? Explain to me how point A to point B. How go anger to yawn? Well, it is written like how I write my OCs, who's from rural Georgia. Yeah, it's just a southern accent. That's what it is. It's written like a southern accent. I know people who speak like that. Covet yawned for a moment before seeing Stardew use his magic to assort every item. He also noticed a list that Stardew had. Looking closer, he noticed that it had quite a few items that he was checking off as he went along, and it was all written in messy handwriting, a product of rushing. Going through the list, it was all written in a dark blue ink and read as the following. I don't think I need to say this, but this right here hurts my eyes to read. It looks better on screen, like on my stream. At least according to my preview, it does. But on my screen, because my screen is like darker, it is hard as fuck to read this. I know what it says because I've read the entirety of the chapter like 15 times now, but this is like hard as fuck to read. It's why I don't like color text in media, unless you base it around having darker color on like a lighter screen, which we will learn later is not the case for this one. Essentials, check for them in covered suitcase. Clothes, cross out. Towels, toothbrush, cross out. Main brush, cross out. Comb. Why do you need a main brush and a comb? I still don't understand it too. Just bring the comb. Maybe I'm not. I can't do the thing I want to do that with my hand. Maybe I'm not clear enough to understand. But why main brush and comb? Why would you need a hairbrush and a comb? Someone who is clearer than me answer that question. By the time Covet had finished reading this short list, he noticed that Stardew was adding things that were missing. It had a big cross next to him. Before he could protest about anything, he saw his towels and his small comb that he kept floating past both him and Stardew and placing themselves neatly within the suitcase. Seeing that everything was neatly placed and organized like Stardew wanted, he closed it with a nice simple zipping sound after he managed to zip it shut. But zippers don't make a zipping, but Okay. What do I make zippers make a zipping sound as you zip it up, not after you zip it up. For the tail, maybe? Like the main brush is for the main, the comb is for the... Let's try. I can't apply real world logic to it, because I would just bring a comb. Like, there's no difference to me. Comb works perfectly fine for what I need. I gotta apply, like, My Little Pony dumbass logic to it, and I don't understand My Little Pony dumbass logic. Your room is like a jungle. Your room is like a jungle. That is a sentence. That's a sentence. I wouldn't say it, but that is a sentence. That's how you tell your story's good. It's putting me to sleep, even while I'm making jokes about it. Your room is like a jungle, Stardew then said, looking around in slight annoyance. You should really let one of them cleaners come in and clean the place, you know. Okay. I don't need the roasted seagull to tell me what to do, Covet then responded with a hint of annoyance in his voice. Stardew must have picked up on this as he responded with a tone reminiscent of offense, saying, I'm not trying to upset ya. I'm not trying to upset you, but this dump needs to clean. Covet simply frowned as he tried to use his magic to move Stardew back to the doorway. However, before he could, Stardew managed to break free and proceed to get very upset. I tried to send the MFP stuff for us, lol. Well, lucky me, we're over halfway done with this chapter already. We're only 41 minutes in. Maybe we can get 3 chapters in before I have to go cleanse my vocal cords with bleach. You know I could have. Wait, what is it? You know I could have let you stay sleeping. He wasn't asleep. You walked in on him awake. Why would you? They walked in and he was awake. Why would he say that? He walked in and Covet was already up, awake, doing stuff. Doesn't make sense. In what world would you say, oh, I could have let you stay sleeping to somebody who was already up? Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense. You know, I could have let you stay sleeping and it would have ruined the trip we're going on. Trotnest Covet, our favorite spot, can't you? But before Sadu could finish the sentence, Covet interrupted. Oh yeah, the same island we go for vacation every year. The one that reminds me of what you called this room. What was it? Dump? You said jungle, not dump. Yeah, you said jungle, not dump. I don't know. What was I lost already. Okay. Yes, I remember now. He shouted back, his way of speaking making his words seem blatantly sarcastic. The two stood looking at each other with anger for a good moment or two before Sadu took a breath and tried to pass Covet to the entrance. Okay. Of the room, he seemed to have another moment standing before he spoke. When he did, he simply said, "Be outside in half an hour," before finally trotting off, stomping his hooves down the hallway and down the stairs, presumably. Once Sadu was out, Covet simply muttered to himself, "Yeah, head off, mate," then got to walk getting dressed. Okay. Why Pony need dress? Why Pony need clothes? Why Pony need clothes? Why? Well, until the end of this chapter. I'll come back to that later. It had been 25 minutes before Covet got himself out of his room. What was he doing for that long? Who takes 25 minutes to get dressed? Shutting the door behind him, he carried the suitcase with him as he made his way down through the castle and out to the entrance. This morning wasn't a very packed morning. No overwhelming amounts of castle staff barging him. I can't speak. Barraging him with every step of the way. No guards escorting him. It was him and his suitcase together alone. As he made his way through the castle, he began to see the regular paintings with golden frames, curtains adorning the castle windows. As he made his way past the garden entrance, the castle staff moving back and forwards as if he wasn't there. He supposed they were busy with other things and that they couldn't stop to bother him, which he liked immensely. He preferred his walks and travels to be undisturbed, almost like his favorite kind of coffee, almost bitter black. Because in this show, at least, the fancier, higher class ponies do usually wear clothes or accessories, while the rest typically don't. Except for a few like Applejack and a hat, for example. Isn't Twilight like upper class and she doesn't wear anything? I think that's right. Twilight. Anyway. It took about another 5 minutes before he finally made it outside, the air of the nearby sea wafting into his face. Wafting is a crazy sentence. It's a crazy word to say. I mean, it works, it's correct, but wafting. The distinct smell of salt penetrating his sense of smell. I don't think... Does the sea smell like salt? I've never smelled salt. I guess I can't smell, so I can't really talk about that. He looked around and saw a carriage not too far away from him. He made his way hesitantly to the carriage before feeling relief after seeing his father poking his head out of the carriage at his son. The look he sported, however, was one of annoyance rather than pleasure at seeing his son. I'm gonna be so happy when I have to read this type of dialogue. I'm gonna be so happy. There you are. What took you so long, boy? Crimson shouted as his son got inside the carriage. I thought I was on time. Surely I wasn't late. Covet immediately asked, angry and his father wasn't on his to-do list today, so he naturally had the sense of urgency about himself. That's why Crimson laughed. This confused Covet until Crimson responded, "Yeah, you're always such a serious one, Covet. Lighten up, boyo. You're 5 minutes early." I don't know how you go from one side of the castle to the other side, and well, it's assumedly that far in 5 minutes, or in less than 5 minutes. Even if you're running or flying, unless you're really fast, I assume it takes longer. This little joke his father seemed to have played did not go well with Covet all. Did not go well with Covet all. Did not go well with Covet at all. He sat on the opposite side of the carriage, on the opposite seating to his father. He didn't want to say anything to his father, but it was evident he was annoyed, to say the least. He put his suitcase down next to him and waited for Stardew. I too wait for Stardew, but specifically Stardew Valley. I like my joke. My joke made me happy. About a moment of awkward silence later, and Stardew came galloping in. He slammed his suitcase against Covet's and rushed, panting, and then sat next to their father. And here he was saying I was going to be the one late. Covet snickered to himself. "Hey, I never said nothing like that," Stardew protested. However, before either of them could continue, Crimson spoke in a somewhat stunned voice. One that didn't sound angry, but one that sounded very much serious about what he was about to say. "I want you two to behave this weekend. You both hear? All I hear lately is my two sons arguing. Spend this weekend bonding or something to that effect. Do you both understand?" This English is negatively affecting me. I assume that's more due to personal choice and Twilight's in law, because when she gets crowned a princess, she has a dress, crown, and fancy shoes, no hooves, but doesn't wear them again after that. I think it's more like to do with the fact that she doesn't have to. Like, obviously, wearing fancy clothes to a fancy event, no, it's to be evident, even in a show about magical talking ponies. But just wearing clothes in general doesn't seem like the natural state. Those that do seem more pompous. At least that's how I see it. Because I remember from the few episodes I've seen, being like dressed like that were pompous. Oh, 11 views. Let's go. We love 11 views. Who else in the chat? Oh, just you. Okay. There's a moment of silence in the carriage until the carriage started moving in unison. Stardew and Covet both said, "I'll behave if he does," which surprised the pair. They looked as if they were about to argue until Crimson broke the tension with a sharp flap of his wings, relaxing as he looked out of the carriage window. "Honestly, you two make me nauseated when you both argue." Crimson then said both of the brothers did an eye roll as the carriage pulled off down the road by the two Pegasi pulling it. I have nothing to say about the nauseating comment. This writing makes me nauseated. I've had to correct it like 4 times now, and I shouldn't have to I shouldn't have to correct the writing in a published book, in my opinion. In the sky when the carriage stopped, the brothers used their magic to lift their suitcase out before following their father out to the ferry they were taking. The ferry in question being part of the transport to Trotnest Island. It took the three of them about 20 minutes from ferry once they got on. The number of passengers being a surprising number whilst traveling. Don't the carriages fly? Like, don't the carriages fly? Covet enjoyed looking at the look of all the neighboring islands that made up the continent of Main Australia. There was his home island, Courtney Island. I hate you. Then there were the two others. Oh, what? How do you say that? Hollingmain Island? Hollingmain Island? And Perryhoof Island. Both were about as big as Courtney Island. Both also had about as many cities as Courtney Island, which was exhausting when Covet and Sadu used to get along and hosted the continent-wide festival known as Alley Fest. In fact, being on the ocean, seeing all the three islands prompted the question, Sadu. Sadu, do you remember our very last Alley Fest? Courtney Island, Perryhoof Island, Hollingmain. Is that how you pronounce that? Hollingmain? I assume this is Australian stuff. I don't live in Australia. Well, obviously, I won. Why? He asked, slightly confused. Even if you won, it'd be nice if we ended up hosting one last one. Even if our last one was me versus you, Covet then responded with some reminiscing in his head. Do you remember the songs they sang together when they traveled to each city? They were in 2 days of non-stop touring and seeing their elite hoofball teams playing off against each other. The intense 3 versus 3 games. He even remembered the 10 times matches and the 100 times matches that gave the winning teams 100 or 10 times the amount of goals they scored. It was nice to remember that. By the time Covet had snapped back to his senses and back to the real world around him, the ferry had just pulled into the Trotnest port. Every pony began trotting off. Stop saying trot. Stop saying trot. Stop saying trot. Stop saying trot. I've had to say trot so many times. I'm already tired of that one. Please. Trotting off with their luggage, being the last to get off the ferry before it filled up with passengers. Covet, Sadu, and Crimson made their way to the hotel they were staying in. Why is a king and 2 princes staying in a hotel? Why are they staying in a hotel? They should have a castle or a private villa or something. They shouldn't be in a hotel. There are a king and 2 princes. While it's a monarchy. Oh, what was that? They were staying in Crimson, going up to the vacant desk. Now, why don't you two go ahead and have some fun at the beach? I'll check us in, he said, lightly shoving the pair to the entrance whilst he trotted forward. The two began trotting out to the nearby beach, not saying a word to each other. They made their way to the water, and Covet began swimming in. He always felt home in water, never quite knowing why. I can make some assumptions to why you love the water, and I'm gonna do one of them. Sadu followed in after him, and after about 10 minutes, Crimson joined them, but stayed on the beach. Covet noticed his father never really went to into the ocean. Every time they were at the beach, it was strange. He never joined them each year they were here. It wasn't until he started thinking about it that his brother splashed his face with water. Racia, he said as he began swimming to one end of the beach and back. About an hour later of back and forth racing, who has the stamina to go in the water for an hour? Besides that one person who swam from like one country to another. The two were suddenly having fun. It wasn't often that these two bonded. It wasn't often that they even get along, in fact. Don't know why. Well, I mean, I have an idea why. It's because it's annoying. Stardew doesn't really do anything. They were so busy being preoccupied with their competition between each other. In fact, they had completely disregarded the fact that the current seemed to be pulling them farther and farther away from the shore. After the last race, however, they suddenly noticed. How did we get so far out? Come on, let's swim back, Stardew suggested. However, as if by magic, the tide refused to let them, pushing them farther and farther into the deep ocean. Why don't we fly back, Stardew asked before he had an answer. A jet blue... I'm dying. Pushing them farther and farther to the deep oceans. Why don't we fly back? Stardew asked before he got an answer through a jet of blue magic hit Covet, stunning him long enough to start sinking. Luckily, Covet was able to swim up to the top of the water, but when he tried flying, he couldn't. That's when he turned around, giving him a small second to notice a figure out on the horizon. He couldn't tell who it was, but when he pieced together that the figure had probably been the one to shoot the spell at him, they were gone. I am dying here. I am dying here. Why is there no data? Why was there no data? Why were you not walking? People are shocked I'm actually reading it. Of course I'm reading it. Why wouldn't I read it? I said I was going to read it and review it. So I'm doing it the best way I know how, which is reading it and reviewing it on stream. Okay, where was I? Okay, Stardew looking concerned, decided to ask the obvious. You alright? Did that spell hurt you? I fucking hate this. Did it hurt you? YouTube is not... What is YouTube not? Eat a dick, YouTube. That's my answer. Live chat. You can close now. Oh, what was I? As for Hutty, I can't fly. No matter what I try, I can't fly, Covet shouted, very much in a state of shock and panic. Stardew, sensing this, responded quickly. Alright, just stay calm. I'm gonna try and lift ya. I don't like how they just don't do this. Don't write like they have the accent. It's so annoying. Like it's not even funny. It's just so annoying. The answer is so there's differentiation because they act the same. If they speak differently, you can tell them apart even though they act exactly the same. Oh, what was I just think I'm trying to lift it. He said his horn glowing and drops of magic forming after what felt like an age, but was really a few seconds. Covet was out of water and the two headed for the shore, Covet being carried by Stardew. When I get back to the shore, Crimson noticed the two. Crikey, Covet. You've gotten that lazy? He chuckled. Covet, however, didn't take this politely. How dare you? In case you haven't guessed, I couldn't fly. Lords, give me strength. Lord, give me fucking strength. Because I need it. I fucking need it. He responded in defense. Crimson seemed confused until he was told by Stardew what happened. Crimson looked concerned, that concern growing when he noticed that no matter what the spell he used, Covet's wings refused to open. This magic, it's not normal. But it couldn't be, he said to himself. Couldn't be who? Both Stardew and Covet asked each other. So I should dub this? Just have different dialogue styles for your OCs. It's easy for me. One of my OCs speaks very blunt and direct, while the other one is more snarky and playful. That's called personality, and to be able to write personality, you have to be a good writer. It couldn't be who? Both Stardew and Covet asked each other. No one, just speaking out loud. It was probably the cold of the sea or something. Crimson responded, though both Stardew and Covet knew this was false. The cold of the sea never made wings stiffen up. Now I know it said he couldn't open them, but when I hear wings stiffening up, I think like the wings shooting up and being stiff, not like stuck to the body stiff. Disregarding the fact that the sea was actually warm, it always was in Australia. That's inaccurate. Except for the final. Oh, okay, never mind. I should finish reading before I comment. Except for the final quarter of the year, but it was the third quarter of the year, not the final quarter. I'm gonna eat a quarter. A few hours later, after the three had gotten off the beach, nightfall hit. The beautiful sun said that the beautiful sun said that the last minutes of the day, okay. However, didn't manage to diffuse the tension from the last few hours. None of the three said a word to each other. In fact, Covet had kept himself in their suite. He was busy reading something very fascinating to him, and something he shouldn't have had. The book was named Fae, The Tellings of the Old Folk of Light. I want to die. And it had a golden pair of fairy-like wings on the front. He was in the middle of reading about something called Enchanted. I'm gonna enchant a gun. Use that myself. However, that's when he was interrupted by Crimson. Of it, why do you have this? The stuff in this book is rubbish. Oh yes, it's quite rubbish. Quite fucking rubbish. I'm gonna shoot myself having to read rubbish in a serious tone. Crimson spoke, his manager taking the book away from Covet. Hey, I was reading that, but before he could finish the sentence, Stardew came in the room. Silence fell on the room like a blanket of heavy snow until Stardew broke the tension. Dad, you know would never believe in what you said about the cold sea. What the unholy fuck is that sentence? Dad, you know we'll never believe in what you said earlier about the sea cold, right? In what world is that a correct sentence? That doesn't sound right. It could be right, but it doesn't sound right. That just sounds weird. That sounds like a weird way of saying that. Crimson frowned. Now that's enough about that. Whatever it is, we will get it fixed. After all, with Covet's coordination. However, Crimson seemed to have struck a chord. Oh right, his coordination, Stardew muttered. Now you listen here. My decision is final, Crimson responded, raising his voice. Stardew knew better than to push about it and just stayed quiet. We better go to bed. I think an early start tomorrow would be better. After all, that's only a month away. Covet suggested with that. The three took one final look at each other before Crimson left the two brothers to hold out the tension before they fell asleep, taking the book with him. Little did Covet know that this was going to be the last month of his life in Australia, but something would happen soon that would change his life forever. Oh my god. How is it that so British? Yeah, I half expected Stardew to, I don't know how to say yeehaw at this point. The author can't decide what the character should be. Stardew is obviously Southern, even though it says Oceanic. Oceanic people, like Australians, don't sound like English Southerners. They don't talk like Southerners. A variation of the British accent. King Crimson, being British, since he's been there for millennia, kind of makes sense, I guess. I can tolerate it at the very least. And then Stardew, not Stardew, Covet is just English. Just normal English. And I don't understand this as like a concept. Anyway, chapter 1. My opinion of chapter 1. It's over. I can give my opinion. Despite the obvious issues I already pointed out with like just it being written in such a weird way. It's not just me, right? Everybody else thinks it's written in a weird way. Like, it can't just be me that sees this. Okay. Stardew and Cup's relationship just seems like unnecessarily hostile. Like, sure, Stardew may be upset with their father, but why does that have to translate to like Covet being recipient? He didn't choose anything. Okay. Anyway, let's read the. Yeah, yes, kind of gives me run-on sentence or stream of consonants vibes, not gonna lie. It's like one of my videos, except my videos are funny and this is just painful. I don't know if the model gives away how many times I just laid back in my chair, but the amount of times I just went back in my chair and just stopped talking because I was processing what was just read, because I had to think about it for a second. Is astonishing. Now, let's read the office notes. Original author note. Alright, so this is the first of hopefully many more chapters. I hope you enjoyed reading. Give it a thumbs up and don't forget to comment your thoughts. I'm excited to see them. Unless they're bad, then your opinion doesn't matter. For legal reasons, that is a joke. J-O-K-E, joke. Please no bully. I'm not gonna do anything. Author's note update. Okay, so looking at this, I'm both nostalgic and somewhat disappointed. Nostalgic because this was recovered by El Dorado, the mod who originally approved this whole thing, lol. And disappointed because I really just don't like how I skipped over important things like the boat ride. Okay, it was in here for less than a paragraph. And the hotel, it just really felt like. I agree. I think this chapter should have stayed in the draft until you worked on it more, because it doesn't it just doesn't read good. It's not a bad first chapter. Okay, for a new author, not a bad first chapter. Expected of a new author, in my opinion. New author stuff, typically not that great. But the thing with new authors is they don't show the majority of the stuff that they write. So you don't see the, like, I love how the author note states that a bad opinion on it doesn't matter, yet she made a video reviewing her own work as a response to criticism towards it. She didn't respond to her work, she reviewed chapter 1 only. I will be doing all of them. Not today, but I will be doing all the chapters in streams like this. Where was I? It stayed in the draft slow. Nevertheless, this was the original version, and I'll be going through and adding my own updated notes from here on out. My overall rating for this one, since I think I'm qualified to rate this, is a solid 6.5 out of 10. Potential but crucial things are missing. Also, my god, bootleg Buckball? Nah, I definitely changed that in chapter 10, and didn't even sit here and update chapter 1 to reflect that. LMAO, L for me. I jest. Okay. Overall, as I was saying, good chapter 1. Not the worst chapter 1 I've read in my life, but not the worst, but not the best I've read in my life. For a new author, I probably, like, as somebody who's currently writing stuff, I wouldn't post this. I'm gonna be so fair. I wouldn't post my first work. It's pretty bad. Cass, Buzzy.
Buzzy too.
On YouTube.
Oh, Buzzy.
YouTube friendly Minecraft sound. Anyway, last chapter, not the worst. Could have been better. Hopefully, when I read the video of it, it's better. I doubt it will be. Really doubt it will be. I don't think I'll be doing a second chapter today because this one took so long, and that's probably how it'll go for all of them. I'll just have to do one a day. Let me see what my sibling requires of me real quick. Actually, would y'all want me to read chapter 2? Yes, to chapter 2. Okay, let's go up and look at chapter... What's chapter 2's page count? What count? 4,201. No, we could do that. How do we feel about chapter 2? Okay. Okay. Chapter 2. I need payment after chapter 2. I'm gonna be so for real. I need payment after this. I'm gonna go through how many chapters? I'm gonna go through 21 chapters plus the 2, I believe, the 2 or 3 that was already written for the second one. I can check right now, actually. Link a new tab. Oh. This one, yeah. There's 2 chapters there. Now, excuse me? How many words? Excuse me? Explain to me how 2 chapters made up almost 50% of this. How did 2 chapters make up 50% of her original book? Explain to me. I'm dying, guys. I've decided I no longer want to live here. I am no longer part of this world. I will now turn to mush. Okay. Chapter 2. A coronation crashed. Why did I get a notification on Twitch? Oh, free shiny codes. I'll look at that in a minute. Oh, if you want to know, the picture for my lo-fi song is now Mudkip, Pikachu, Trico, Torchic, and a lady. You've given up with my little lo-fi music playing background. Anyway. Make this easy to edit, so I'm gonna pause for a minute after this. Chapter 2. A coronation crashed. It had been about a month since the vacation weekend. To cover it, it honestly felt as if all the good that had happened during that time was but a distant memory once more after losing access to flying thanks to the spell that had hit him. His emotions had reached as high. I can't. I'm so. This book is written so poorly that I'm starting to read it poorly. His emotions had reached a high several times. This is in tandem with the fact that he was told to keep his condition between his brother and his father meant that many arguments had occurred. He'd often be shouting at his father or brother, and there would always be a reaction. It was stressing to say the least. However, today would be the big day. A big day, specifically his big day. He waited many months for this, and it was finally going to happen. It was the day of his coronation, a day all about him, and nothing but him. Even if Stardew was angry or upset with him, he couldn't do anything to Covet without angering their father. Covet found this to be a somewhat acceptable trade-off to the fact that his coronation was something that he couldn't refuse, considering he didn't want this to even happen. He took what he could get given in the circumstances. I can't read. The day started as any normal day, waking up and very slowly getting himself together about a week earlier. He had been fitted for some armor. I fucking hate. Why do English people spell everything with U's? Spell it correctly or don't spell it at all. He had been about a week earlier. He had been fitted for some armor and a cloak that he was supposed to wear on this day. The cloak being made of a luxurious fur, whilst the armor was made of what appeared to be completely pure gold. That would be heavy. Gold's the heaviest metal there. Well, one of the heaviest metals. One of the heaviest metals people could walk with around the time. I assume this is set. Like, imagine wearing a weighted suit of about, like, probably over 100 pounds. If it's that much gold to make full armor, it's heavy. That man jacked. Because it's jacked. What was I? The armor covering his chest and legs, it didn't feel complete to him, but he knew that soon the crown would be the finishing touch of it all. The cherry on top of this already highly anticipated day. Over the course of 10 minutes, he put it on to try it out. He had obviously tried it beforehand, but just wanted to see if the perspective of time would have changed his viewpoint, given that the last time he thought he looked slightly ridiculous. To his delight, the perspective of time had fully managed to allow him to see the full set from a different and more positive view. The only issue that kept popping up in his head, from that point onward was the crown being absent. He didn't like it, but again, he had to reassure himself that yes, everything would be great at the end of the day. That's when he put the armor and cloak back where it was before heading outside of his room. How the fuck is this spell lasting a month straight? In MLP, even the strongest spells need to be recasted after some time. I don't think I've seen spell last longer than a day without needing to be recast. I mean, I'm gonna chalk it up to the Harry Potter aspect I know this book has. His Harry Potter spells I know can last long. I'm gonna chalk it up to that instead of just the annoying fact that the writer doesn't know how to do shit. I don't know what to say. The castle, once he stepped out of his room, was fully operational. He noticed an increase in security measures after him. Stardew and his father had gotten back to Coltney Castle. I hate the names. Please stop making me say the names. I have to say so many names. There's 21 chapters and double the words, almost double the words for the next two. It's 23 chapters of pain. But today was exceptionally annoying. Everywhere he went, he saw guards trying to escort him off to his father. It irked him to know that they were so keeping such an It irked him to know that they were keeping such an annoyingly close distance to him. That's not English. That is just okay. That does not sound right if it is English. He tried many times to just fly up and down the stairs, but to his unfortunate reminding, his wings were still locked by the spell that had hit him. So every time he almost fell off the stairs, many times the unicorn guards would always have to rescue him. No matter how many times this happened, though, he would never get used to it. Okay, now, I had a broken arm before. Wanna know how long it took me to adjust to it? A week. I had a dislocated finger before and it required a cast. Do you know how long it took me to get used to it? A week. It gets annoying, sure, but still. You get used to it after X amount of time and would stop doing a thing that you shouldn't do, like trying to fly. It had been about a good 20 minutes before Covet managed to get peace when he tricked the guards using his magic very subtly to produce a sound that replicated his father's voice in their heads. Once they had galloped away, he slipped into one of the other corridors and managed to find himself outside of his brother's room. He almost banged his head on the door out of keeping watch for the eventual time that the guards would have been fooled, but he figured it was worth it for his own peace. He almost banged his head on the door out of keeping watch for... He almost banged his head on the door out of keeping watch for the eventual time that the guards would have been fooled. That's not just me. That just sounds weird. He almost banged his head on the door out of keeping watch for the eventual time that the guards would have been fooled. That's not just me, right? With a flicker of his magic, he opened the door, even though his brother had told him many times that he was absolutely forbidden to enter. He proceeded to do it regardless. It's not as if he would find out. He was busy planning things with his father. As far as he knew, when the door turned, he saw a neat room, one with a cozier atmosphere than his. In fact, as he walked around, he noticed it was a stark contrast of his room. Whereas he kept his curtains mostly closed all the time, his brother seemed to embrace the sunlight and it was clear from the breeze that he also embraced the cool ocean air. I have a notification. Okay, well, I don't care. He also, however, happened to notice an open box. Inside the box was something he didn't quite expect. It was the posters they designed for the Alley Fest they had planned together. All in near mint condition too. The apples versus the... Splatoon! It's Splatoon! That's what I thought you would do, but Alley Fest is just Splatoon. It is a Splatoon. Only Splatoon, and I want to shoot myself. The apples versus the oranges poster, the Pegasus versus Unicorn poster, the first festival they hosted, which was the early morning versus late night poster. Then, of course, he saw the final festival they hosted, which was the Covet versus Stardew poster. There were 4 others as well, but before he could reminisce on the memories he held from those festivals, he felt a rather harsh smack to his head. Something rather big and heavy had hit his head. Not hard, of course, but enough to cause him to turn around in an instant. When he turned around, he was met with a very angered Stardew. He knew why Stardew was angry. Of course, entering his room was something Covet shouldn't have been doing in the first place. However, what happened next was something Covet didn't expect. Instead of shouting at him, Stardew used his magic and pushed Covet out of the room with the simple words of "Get out" coming from Stardew's mouth, and following a slam of his door. Well, that was polite, Covet said to himself sarcastically as he slowly got up. He shook his head slightly as he turned to leave the corridor, and that's when he allowed a slight grunt of annoyance. Ah, there you are. Okay. I'm recovering from the Splatoon thing. Give me a second. Okay. I mentally recovered from the Splatoon thing. For now. That can change in a moment's notice, though. Covet looked at his approaching father. When he got closer, Covet could see that his father wasn't too happy, to say the least. You know, I've just heard from the gods that they swore they heard my voice calling them. Strange, because I've never said any such thing. Makes me wonder who'd do something like that. Crimson said with a very big hint in his voice that he knew it was him. Covet, however, tried to play into the conversation. Oh yes, it was very strange when they suddenly ran off. Obviously, it makes you wonder when we think about who we decide about who decided to increase security. I'm still recovering from the Splatoon thing. I'm gonna be so for real. I think the Splatoon thing is done I can't speak. Like, impossible to repair mental damage to me. I'm gonna be so for real. The Splatoon thing messed with me. Both the stallions in the hallway stared at each other as neither spoke past that point for a good and solid moment. That was until Crimson spoke. I did that to ensure you were safe. Attacks like that don't just happen out of nowhere. I have a very bad feeling about what's to come. Can't you understand that at least? He asked. There was a tinge of concern hidden in his voice, as well as some anger at the fact that Covet was ignoring his words, increasing as the question ended. Covet didn't respond to the question as he rolled his eyes and tried to change the topic. I'm gonna change the topic. The topic's gonna be a bullet entering my skull. So, in terms of the coronation, it starts around 3, right? Covet asked his father. In a louder tone than previous, Crimson responded with equal loudness. Yes, it does. Now, if you'll be so kind as to follow me to the throne room so we could get through the rehearsal, I'd appreciate it. It seemed as if Crimson's patience was wearing thin at this point. Before anything bad happened between the two, Covet decided to trot onward. Well, come on then. This coronation isn't going to perform itself now, is it? I'm gonna performatively throw myself from my roof. He said as he passed his father, and so the two found themselves trotting off to the throne room. No words exchanged for the entirety of their walk. About an hour later, both Crimson and Covet were inside the throne room, rehearsing. The throne room being decorated in gorgeous and vivid scarlet banners that hung with the outline of gold. The emblem on the banners resembled that of a sword in front of a shield. Pokemon Sword and Shield? With a simple fire outline. This too was covered in lovely golden coloring. On the floor, a perfectly laid red rug was sprayed out. Spread. I am having issues reading this book. This book is destroying my ability to read. It is slowly causing my brain to squeeze until it is gone. A perfectly laid red rug was spread out, reaching from the entrance of the room to the throne itself. As for the throne, it was it was of a lovely golden hue in the outline of the plush red fur that inhabited the back and the sitting area of the throne. Above that, the sword and shield in the banner hung almost as a symbol of great achievement. Covet, however, didn't think it was such. How could a rusted sword and shield be so monotonous? It was baffling to him. This entire story is baffling to me. As he was thinking about this, Stardew entered. He seemed to have calmed down from his initial anger when he saw Covet in his room and proceeded to trot past Covet to their father. Alright, so what do I have to do? What do I have to do then? What do I have to do? That's how I say to do. I feel like I may be made fun of now. Stardew asked their father, "Oh, honestly, Stardew, you're getting as bad as he is," Crimson replied with some semblance of a joke in his tone. "Just stand to the side, that's it." Crimson then added as Stardew did just that. "Now let's go over this once again, Covet. I'll start speaking, and one of the guards will escort you from the room down the hall. From there, you'll walk up, I'll do my speech, and then when the crown will be placed on your head. That's sinking in, boyo?" This is Ben. King Crimson is Ben. If I hear boyo one more time, I'm gonna... Crimson then asked Covet. "Got it. Good. I don't want you ruining this for yourself or us." Crimson responded to the two incidents that Covet had formed in response. To Crimson, Stardew, however, looked slightly lost but spoke nonetheless. However, it wasn't about what had just been spoken about. Instead, it was about something else. Something else. "Father, there's been reports." "Eh? Reports of what? The guests drinking an apple cider already? It's only 2 in the afternoon," Crimson jokingly said. "No, not about something like that. About ponies seeing what they could describe as a blue alicorn in the shadows of the streets of Coltney, specifically over the last few days." I'm worried," Stardew responded. The last word he said was really quiet. Whilst he wouldn't admit it, he did care for Covet. He just couldn't, in his mind, get rid of the lurching feeling that something would go wrong today for his brother. "A blue alicorn?" Covet asked with intrigue. Stardew rolled his eyes. "Yes." Yes, Covet, a blue alicorn. Like the oceans, like the sky, like you when you lose. Blue. Okay, that's funny. That was funny. Like you when you lose, blue. Okay, you know what? That gets the point. That is a funny line. He then smartly I can't read. He then smartly shot as he held heavy, degrading tones in his words. Meanwhile, Crimson was dead silent. It was all adding up now. A blue alicorn suddenly appearing. His son hit with a spell that locked his wings. It couldn't have been anyone but him. Dad, you look like you've just seen a ghost. Are you alright? His white cover didn't ask their father, who did indeed look like he had... who it did indeed look like he had seen a spirit or a ghost or of some kind. Crimson, snapping back to reality after being lost in his thoughts, simply muttered, I'm fine, before properly replying, Covet, you and Stardew go to your room, get yourself ready for the coronation. The guards are going to start letting guests in soon, and I want you to be and I want you to be as good as you can look. He added, then using his magic to move Stardew next to Covet. Father, you alright? Stardew didn't ask, with some concern. However, before an answer was given, they were moved outside the throne room, and the doors then proceeded to slam shut. Okay, we're not that far over. We're not that far from being done. This one is worse. I don't know how you go from medium to worse. But before we continue, I am going to take a short break to go do something for my sibling. I'll be right back. I'm back. Hello, everybody. I am back. I apologize. Where was I? Oh, okay. Well, that went well, Covet spoke as he began trotting in the direction of his room. Come on, you heard the stallion. Covet then added on Stardew soon after. What? Come on, you heard the stallion. Covet then added on Stardew soon after following. What? Covet then added on. What? Well, that went well, Covet spoke as he began trotting in the direction of his room. Come on, you heard the stallion. Covet then added on. I am having a stroke reading that. Stardew soon thereafter following. It took them about 25 minutes for them to walk to Covet's room. The time seeming to get longer the farther they traveled. The walk was quiet for the most part. Given that they were far from the entrance by the time the guests started rolling. Wait. So they're far enough from the entrance, which would be closer to the throne room, that it takes 25 minutes to walk to Covet's room. But Covet could reach the entrance of the castle in less than 5 minutes. Okay. I wouldn't. Just okay. Most part given they were far away from the entrance, but by the time the guests started rolling in, when they reached Covet's door, started use his magic to open. And get in, get out. He spoke as he had a look of slight concern. God, you and Father have gotten so concerned about me lately. I highly doubt that Blue Alicorn is real, and even if they were, but before Covet could finish his long monologue, he was magically moved by Stardew into his room before Stardew closed the door behind the now closed door. Stardew shouted, "Just get ready!" before an air silence fell around Covet. He used his magic to lift the armor and cloak off the stand it was on before putting it on again. When he got out of his room 5 minutes later, however, he was shocked when he saw Stardew now in his own formal attire. How did you manage to get from your room to here and put that on in 5 minutes? Covet asked with a legitimate sounding surprise to his voice. Stardew rolled his eyes, however, responding, "Oh really, Covet? You should know what I did. I used a spell to transport what I wanted, and then I put it on here. If you paid attention in magic class back in college, you'd know that spell." Covet frowned. "Oh, come on now. That class was boring, just like magical theory, potionology, and the other one. What was it called? If you mean our math class? No, I actually enjoyed that one. I mean the other one, oh, so you mean our magical history class? Yeah, that one. Anything with magic bores me." Covet didn't finish the back and forth with it. It was true. Covet hated unnecessary magic. To him, a simple levitation spell is all he needed. Well, if you had some protection spells, maybe you wouldn't be in this situation now, would you? Finding magic boring in a magical story is fucking stupid. Like, imagine if somebody... I guess a lot of people in today's society do this, so I guess my analogy doesn't work because people do it. That's all he needed. Although it never stopped him from being surprised by more advanced spells. Nevertheless, the theory behind the spells and the vast history was what bored him. The techniques was something he found to be hard and too complex for his brain to comprehend. So instead of confronting the task, he'd often skip the class back in his college days. It just wasn't for him. I am not entertained. How long? Oh god, we're almost done. We're almost done. Where was the skip the class? You'll always be with the physical stuff, but I do think you should practice some of the other spells we learned in college that you added on. It's not like you'd have to write about them like you hated doing, just learn them for your own sake. I don't need to learn what won't help me. I don't need to know how to turn a cup of tea into a cup of coffee. We have a readily available source of that. I don't need to turn a mouse into a crystal flask. I don't need to, but before Covet get carried away with his rant about magic he hated, Sadu cut him off. Alright, I get it. Let's just go. Sadu responded. Covet took a sigh before trotting ahead. Right. He added before the pair of them trotted off to the throne room. Covet hearing guests as they get closer and closer. By the time they reached the throne room, Sadu stopped him. Did you forget what Dad told us? Get in there, the guards will fetch you. Get in there, the guards will fetch you. I don't want to see you anymore. Get in there. This is the... We don't need to see this. And the worst part is, I know this is longer. The rewrite of this is 13K words long. The rewrite of this is longer than this, and I have to read it for prosperity's sake. I'm going to die inside when reading it. If y'all want to see that, like, comment, subscribe. Fucking Christ. Sadu said, almost forgetting that he needed to be in that room. Covet used his magic to turn the doorknob and then proceeded to wait in silence, sitting in the chair and taking the last few moments of peace before the big event to the last few moments before the big event to think. When he was sitting down, thoughts started cropping up, from the small ones that simply made him think of food that would be served at the feast of the coronation, to the larger ones that screamed in his head that he was going to fail, that his decisions would be flawed once he started to rule the kingdom, that he would end up dooming the kingdom, all the self-doubting of himself coming to full effect as he heard the words practically screaming at him at this point. He tried to ignore the voices, focusing on breathing and nothing else, but had no effect or success. The voices overriding any senses he had. He could practically see the words now, his mind jumping from failed outcome to failed outcome. He felt like he was about to faint until he was tapped on the shoulder. His head jolted in the direction of who tapped him. And to his fortune, he was able to distract himself. It was the guards. Two of them, one a Pegasus and one a unicorn. The Pegasus being a lavender color, whilst the unicorn radiated a pale dark blue color. Both their manes were also a shade of it was also the shade of the coat that they had. For the blue unicorn, he had a darker, more vivid and vibrant blue, with a purple, a more saturated purple. It's time, Prince, the blue unicorn said. Covet could have sworn that he had a slight taste of resentment towards him, but he didn't have time to focus on that. I didn't have time to focus on a lot of things in this book. Guys, if I get enough likes, maybe I'll power scale these characters. I'll shoot myself. He followed the two guards, both in unison, regarding their speed. Covet trotted with the speed after realizing he was slowly being left behind. And with that, the three of them were at the throne room door. The unicorn opened the door with their magic, and suddenly about 50 unknown faces had hit him. Staring, some excited, some curious, some concerned, the unicorn and the Pegasus then stayed on either side of the door as Covet started trotting in. With each step Covet took, he felt more and more eyes beaming at him and shutting him all in unison. He didn't expect everything to be as silent as it was. Either no noise except the hoof steps he was taking and the sound of light breathing from the crowd. I couldn't hear that breathing. I can't hear a lot of things, but I couldn't hear that. It was as if you could hear the pins dropping on the floor. It was as if you could hear the pins dropping on the floor. That's not the saying. It was as if you could hear a pin drop. That's the saying. What? Okay. Whatever. Whatever. If there were any, of course. Every step he took, he felt like an hour had passed. Was he really as slow as he was realizing he was? At the point of him asking the question in his head, he had reached his father. When he looked up at his father, he saw what it could only be described as some doubt in his face. Covet could see it. It was written all over his face. To his right, he saw Stardew with an expression of both boredom and concern. He didn't know what to make of this, but that's when he heard his father speak. With the clearing of his throat, and he gave his speech. Oh boy. Friends and continent-wide subjects. Didn't need to add that. You could just said friends and subjects. Didn't have to add continent-wide. We are gathered here, as mentioned prior, to crown the next of our royal line. The one who stands before me, known as Prince Covet Dawndrop, is about to embark on a momentous journey with both himself and this continent. By accepting the crown of the Crimson Dawn, he will hereby rule, crowned the official heir to my throne. And when the time is right, he will ascend to becoming a ruler. Or to becoming ruler. Was the huge speech Crimson had prepared for this moment. With a flicker of his magic, he grabbed the crown from his own head and simply said in one sentence, I now pronounce you crowned ruler of Mainstrelia. Covet took a moment. It was finally happening. The thoughts he had were building, but he looked towards the floor as he lowered his head. His head then zap. Sorry, I don't have a sound effect button. I can't do a zap sound effect. I can't zap it to the extreme right now. Only a few people will get that one. A stranger bolt of what felt to be ice-cold magic hit the crown. Enough so that it fell out of Crimson's control and became nothing more than a block of ice. That's strong magic. Covet turned around and looked at who had cast the spell. To his shock, there wasn't just an alicorn where the blue unicorn had stood, but an alicorn where the Pegasus stood, both now in slightly different forms. The purple alicorn looked like an exact replica of him, but in purple hues, his eyes being a piercing turquoise color, whereas the blue alicorn had green eyes, piercing vivid green. Before another word was uttered, the blue unicorn cast a spell, and before anyone could stop it, a ring of ice cold around the pair of them had formed. Screams erupted from the room. Guests were fleeing as the two alicorns entered further. They seemed to have no regard nor care for any of the guests, instead focusing on both Covet and Stardew. What he called in my head that one of the guards was the guy who shot him with the spell. Jesus fucking Christ, I can write this myself. I mean, it was pretty obvious in my opinion. It was really, really obvious. No subtlety at all in hiding that. It was pretty obvious. I don't know why you would not vet your staff like that, but okay. Also, screams erupted from the room. Screams erupted from the room. That's how you do that. The purple alicorn, like his blue friend, had cast a spell that kept him and started an arena together, surrounded by fire. Two fights were about to begin. Before Crimson had the misfortune of finding out what happened if some pony tried to fighting past the barrier of fire and ice. Two guards paid that price. One guard who I'm dying, help me. One guard whose instincts was to break into the ice arena, throw solid, shattering it on impact after he fell. Whereas another one was eaten up by flames before he could enter. Crimson sat horrified. He couldn't do anything to help his two children, except use any of his magic. Any of the magic that could have been used to hit opponents from a distance, instead of just watching your children get beat. You know, because there's definitely no spells in Harry Potter, or even in this, definitely no spells in this that could have been used for that. throw a chair. Throw a chair. Ah. Where was I? Oh. He tried teleporting within the confines, but magic threw him back outside the arena. Scared? Bounded? You should be. You should be. The blue alicorn asked. Covet had no idea who this Bounded was. What in the? But before Covet could ask, a spell was shot at him. He dodged barely and the blue alicorn spoke again. It's not your fault. After all. Well, it's not your fault. After all, him sending us is like giving you mercy. Your last moments will be with those of us who actually care. He then shouted with obvious madness and twisted joy in his voice as more than 5 spells were shot at Covet at once. Well, cut out the shotgun spell, for real. He avoided the first 4 once again, barely, but the 5th caught him. Within a second, he was paralyzed, his body falling and becoming numb. The only thing that walked were his eyes, that looked up as he desperately tried to get up. Oh boy, I didn't pronounce a spell! Meanwhile, in the fire arena, the purple alicorn seemed enraged, not uttering a word, but spewing mass amounts of fire toward the other brother. Stardew, being more skilled and adept than Covet, reacted with equal firepower, his spells being a blinding blue light. Fierce clashes with red and blue hitting one another until the purple alicorn uttered one single incantation. That's not how spells work. You can't rapid fire five different spells at once. Oh, don't worry. This is also not how spells work, I believe. Tormentius Totalio? I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's what I'm going to say it is. Tormentius Totalio. Without warning, a stream of magenta hit Stardew. Before he could comprehend what had hit him, his mind and body fell into an immense amount of pain. He'd never heard of this spell before, yet already knew what it was for. He writhed on the floor as the spell took control of his body with almost unbearable pain. By the time the spell had concluded, he could barely breathe. That's when the purple alicorn wandered over his gaze and eyes looking as if they were filled with the hateful fires of Tartarus themselves. Keep my faith out your mouth. Uttered another sentence. You and that father of yours took him from us. Stardew, being confused at this, responded with the rightfully justified question of, what? Before he got his response, however, the purple alicorn uttered another spell. At least Stardew assumed it was a spell given what happened afterwards. Our culture is in your costume. The Plathium Undermincia. The Plathium Undermician. Just like that, another spell hit him. This one, an aqua-colored spell. Before Stardew could comprehend what had hit him next, his vision went black, and all traces of his existence in the room vanished. The purple alicorn, seeing what had clearly said what he had clearly set out to do was done, used his magic to combine both arenas and had the arenas open and enclosed around Crimson, trapping him in with them. And then there were 2. The purple alicorns. So cheesy. That's so cheesy. So cheesy. And then there to the purple alicorn then said, still holding fury. Bound is down. That leaves him, Arcane's. We don't know the names. Who's Arcane? Arcane said as the blue and purple pair turned towards the. Why is this guy like a cliche movie level villain and all? I mean, it's the writing. Arcane said as the blue and purple pair turned towards the king. Crimson, with his magic, had gathered the sword and shield from above the throne. The two shot at the king, but when he put up the shield, the spells started rebounding. Arcane, League of Legends? League of Legends, Arcane? Dalicite, take care of him. I'll deal with Bounded. The blue alicorn then said as he noticed the shield glimmering with a strange light. Crimson swung the sword once as a golden beam of light slashed at the purple alicorn. Before Covet knew what was happening, he had felt something. The blue alicorn seemed to be performing some kind of spell. His body felt as if it was falling apart, and as if his very existence was being broken. That's the only way he could describe it. He saw 2 lots of everything, and then 3. Then before he could even see what had happened, everything went black for him. The blue alicorn simply muttering, "Can't kill him here. Let's have some fun then." Before Covet's consciousness faded from the waking ward, fading into fleeting dreams and starry mind made skies. Okay, the first fight scene, actually not written poorly. A little cheesy in some parts, like and then there were 2. I don't think I would ever write that unless I'm making a cheesy villain for the sake of being a cheesy villain. Overall, not a bad fight scene though. No, for the first fight scene, acceptable. The writing got worse. I don't know how that's possible. It still reads like a run-on sentence, and that's not just how I'm reading it. I swear to you, that's not just how I'm reading it. And I got into it at the end, and it still sounded like that. Chapter 1 was a 5 out of 10. Not bad, not great. This one is a 4.5 out of 10. It got worse. Because of the unrealistic, the fight, getting us to care about these characters and then doing this makes me less involved with the story, in my opinion. Let's get to the office notes like last time. Original office note. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the chapter. I put a fair bit of work, I'd like to think, into that. Won't be able to release the next chapter until I get some free time. I'll try and write chapter 3 over the week, but I do have college, so bear with me. I also have a busy weekend ahead of me after Friday, so lol. New offer note. Lord, why? Why did the Lord above permit me the idea of having spell names? Oh, thank God, you realized it was bad. You realized it was bad. I just wish I hadn't done that, although it's given me ideas for later on down in in the rewrite when the spells aren't necessarily used anymore. The offensive ones weren't really used past chapter 6 if I recall, pending confirmation, but in total I would rate this a 4 out of 10. Need to have heavily expanded on this in the rewrite instead of making Arcane and Dallas like generic bad guys. I need to expand to have a little convo between them. I need to really bring out the perspective play in the rewrite. Okay, you know what? It seems that the rewrite may actually be tolerable if this is true. So maybe next stream we go after chapter 1 and 2 of the rewrite, maybe. Just while this chapter 1 and 2 are fresh in our head from this stream, before I go into the other chapters of this. But if it's good, I don't want to go from bad to worse. Like, I want to go bad, good, and then awful. So maybe we do just finish this first, and then we'll reread these chapters. Reread these chapters like solo and read chapter 1 and for a stream. Yeah, that's it for this one. So next stream, maybe not next stream, let me do a gaming stream, but next stream we do this, we will be opening with chapter 3, the soul that was split into 3. I don't have anything else to do for the stream, really. Monday we'll be doing another reaction stream where we react to videos that have been sent to me. If you're watching this in the edited VOD version, by edit I mean I cut out any unnecessary junk of me talking to people IRL. Leave a like, comment, subscribe down below, and I'll see you on the next one. As for the stream, yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Y'all seem to have enjoyed it. That's 27 views for this stream. That's a lot more than last time. I will be ending it now, so